What up, y'all? It's Try. Welcome to Try's World, March 10th, 2026 to Tuesday. Another busy day as far as headlines in the market, but we saw another day of sort of not a whole lot happen, but a lot of volatility due to the headlines, so to speak. And this time the headlines were big enough, I would say, to move markets. But again, they're these short-term, unpredictable movements that I think is almost impossible to predict ahead of time. I know there's people who play that game and think they can, but it is a dangerous game. I've been saying it. I'll say it again. It's not the way I invest, and I know there's plenty of people who try to do that. But just to give you an example, the Energy Secretary today mentioned they were able to successfully escort a tanker, I guess an oil tanker or a big ship, through the Strait of Hormuz. Deleted the text, and then all of a sudden there's a report that surfaces that says Iran is actually laying down mines in the Strait of Hormuz. This happened within probably half an hour, and markets reacted sort of based on that. Oil was down either way. Oil was down big today because I think people are realizing that this may be shorter than originally feared, at least when unconditional surrender was communicated by this administration. Now the sort of communication is, and I mentioned this yesterday, is, well, whatever is the, I guess, standards of success that we determine, we'll declare success based on that, even if Iran is still kicking and screaming and posturing and things of that nature. So I think markets are picking that up to see, to almost, it seems like, look, they've accomplished their mission. And it seemed like, for whatever reason, the administration was betting on this Iran falling like Venezuela, and it didn't. So we have a really pissed off Iran and a much more resilient Iran than I think the intelligence thought they would be after essentially eliminating their top brass, Iran's top brass. There was a lot of posturing by Pete Hegseth and the administration saying, hey, we did it. And just yesterday they appointed the son of the Ayatollah, essentially, which is not a good sign. It shows that if the United States wants to keep going, that Iran is going to continue to attack. And now I feel like it's a PR thing. And I think the administration believes that they're going to out-PR Iran and say, you've been defeated. Even if Iran says that you didn't defeat me, the United States will declare victory because of these metrics. They've taken out their ships. They've taken out the mine ships. They've taken out, they'll say, the air capabilities. And so it's a significantly weakened Iran. But, and maybe there's a clarification, it just seems like the market seems to, at least the oil market, seem to sell off because potentially it doesn't seem as though, at least I think the oil market's betting that there's not going to be this protracted war, at least initiated by the U.S. Now, the U.S. has said if Iran wants to kind of attack more people as they have been all around Iran, that will backfire. That's just going to piss off Iran's neighbors. And there was an article in the Wall Street Journal saying that didn't go according to plan either, because the neighbors are pretty resilient and they're now ready to get involved against Iran. So it's just a whole hot mess. But all in all, it seems like Iran's plan is not working. The U.S. plan did not work. At least on the surface, it didn't seem to work. And so a lot of the Democrats, the really, really concerned Democrats, maybe were correct in saying, or saw something in saying, there's no strategy. And Elizabeth was saying, this is worse than anybody thinks. And she was in, at least now, there's 2 classified meetings at this point. And her criticism has not eased after leaving the second classified meeting. So obviously a fluid situation, but I think potentially soon we'll go back to thinking about midterm elections. That's coming up, how the economy is actually doing, inflation, how people are feeling at the gas pump and their wallets. Ultimately, it goes back to that. And that's what ultimately stocks are going to go back to as well. So you saw kind of buy, sell today, very volatile based on the headlines. And again, it ended up being much ado about nothing. But I think what the administration is seeing is that in certain parts of the market, the war with Iran has already made certain parts of the market sell off a lot or increase a lot. And the administration, to a certain extent, that was Iran's plan, is to make such havoc in the Middle East that it would drive up the price of oil to the point where it'd be unmanageable. And anybody, I guess, looking at how fast oil has risen in the past since the war was initiated, any observer would be alarmed. And I think the administration has been looking at the same thing. And so, yeah, where we go from here, I don't know, but it certainly fits the what the heck's the plan here criticism that was communicated by Elizabeth Warren. So I'm pretty worried that how that ever happened in the first place, but that's a whole nother discussion in terms of that. And yeah, so not sure why that sort of erroneous or mistaken or misinformation social media bit got out by the energy secretary, but that happened. Other than that, in terms of big news, that was the big news. Again, I mean, it's sort of what, March, middle of tax season, or really the end of tax season, and for businesses, starting up for individuals. And I do have some notes here, and I do have hindsight bias. I want to talk about that as far as how many of us or how many of you out there have looked at something or that has risen in price or dropped in price and was like, oh, dang, I should have bought it or I should have sold it. It's a common thing where we trick ourselves into believing we could have saw it ahead of time when in reality we couldn't. I mean, the question now going forward is, how do you capture, now I'm not talking about short-term movements, but a lot of people tend to do that. How do we capture a longer-term profitable opportunity? That's really how one should think about it. And that's a lot harder. The future is murky. And investing is about protecting your capital ultimately and growing your capital. So if the future of a company is uncertain, as in they don't have a strong competitive advantage, they have really strong competitors that are eating into their margins, let's say, and their sales are dropping because of it, or they're just in an industry where there's tons and tons and tons and tons of competitors, like fierce competitors, and it's not known how that will shake out. That's not the best environment for an investor and where to put your capital. I'm talking about active management now. If the folks are actually managing money, are actually investing in individual stocks, actually essentially actively managing it. And I didn't mean to say actually managing as in like passive is not managing it, because passive is managing it as well. And actively is not any better and will actually be a lot worse for most folks long term. Passively investing in an index fund will beat a massive majority of active investors. So just keep that in mind. It'll beat 95% of investors typically, professional investors. So just keep that in mind. It's extraordinarily difficult, but it's an opportunity for small investors and investors, even big investors, but any investors who do not want to essentially, or do not want to pay hefty fees, let's just say, for no reason and things of that nature. Now, as I say this, I know I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are still in the industry and probably don't like this podcast for that reason, but that's why I keep doing it. And not because I want to make people angry or anything like that, but that's why I call it Try's World. It's effectively it's my prism of the world, how I view the world, my niche in the world, and how I view things, and how I feel like I can help and shed light onto things that would be helpful to people out there, everyday investors, professional investors, busy professionals. I mean, wealthy professionals. It doesn't matter. The advice would work for a lot of people, and like I said, I mean, I'm not against professional money management, but it is really difficult to beat the market consistently over a long period of time. So I would just caution against that, even if I don't make friends saying that. That's the best way to say it. Politically as well, I mean, there's been a lot of headlines. Kevin Kiley's running as an independent now. You've heard what I've had to say about Kevin Kiley and how he's already changing his positions now that his district has been sort of gerrymandered out. And it's unfortunate because he's had a lot of support because I didn't know who he was before this whole thing happened, this whole gerrymandering thing that was initiated by the Trump administration in California, followed up with 50 and it was successful, even in the Supreme Court. And now, so Kevin Kiley's looking for a job, essentially, and well, he still has a job to the end of this year or a month, I think. I forget, but he's not unemployed yet, but he's already preparing for it, and he voted against the president on a recently, and it was well publicized in terms of who did. So that was, I guess, good publicity for him if he wants to be an independent now. But again, I think it's just going to be hard for him because from my understanding, from my research on him, it seemed like he had incredible support from the president, and his long-term, at least history, has been very supportive of this administration. And so now he's going to be thrust into a district because he can't compete or doesn't want to compete against, I think, McClintock, another Republican in California. So he's going to try to compete against pretty blue area as an independent. So obviously how much he's changed, I don't know, but I find it hard to believe he's changed that quickly, even though he's changed his party. And so I think what he's saying is he has the ability to represent the district. Probably his platform is he feels like he can represent the people because he's able to listen and just deliver on what he hears. But at the end of the day, people are going to say, well, what do you believe, Kevin? Right? And he's not going to be able to say things convincingly. He's not going to be able to say, I believe in what you believe. Democrat voters, blue voters. It's like, so best of luck to him, but not too much luck. And Stephen A. Smith's running. So I've kind of combined my podcast because I don't want to do two podcasts. And again, it is called Try's World, and part of it involves a little bit of politics, and not everybody agrees with my politics, obviously, and the political stuff I say. But again, most of it, for me at least, goes back to business and what's good business overall. That's kind of what I look at ultimately. I guess Stephen A. Smith's may run for Democratic primary, for the Democratic nomination, and I've talked about him before. And with Skip Bayless, he just tore down one of the greatest basketball players in the game in terms of LeBron James. Hate him or love him in terms of on the court. On the court, he's been a beast for so many years now. And I personally don't think Stephen A. Smith did enough to speak up for LeBron when Skip was always tearing him down. So that's, it just seems like he'll do whatever's of the moment. I know he's saying a lot of people want him to run, but I don't think he was a particularly good sports analyst and at all. So if he's not good at his current job, I don't think he's going to do any better as a political candidate. Look, I don't want a whole bunch of people running for political office who have nothing better to do or is not good at anything else. And that's also J.D. Vance, who was basically, to me, a failed entrepreneur and a failed lawyer. He has a law degree, so it's just they're not good at anything else. I mean, there's been people like that in the past that have just fell into politics, and I totally get it. But I just can't have everybody just, at least for me, I can't just be voting for a bunch of people who just have nothing better to do. Donald is 80, and I don't know if he's gonna be working if he didn't win this presidency. I don't know how effective he'd be as a business person at this age. So it's like, I want people who are in their prime, that'd be great, and are good at other stuff, and have maybe even business experience or things of that nature. So it's that would be ideal. They have life experience, they have business experience, they know what it is. And actually, I think that's what made Zoran so appealing, because he lived in the city for a while. Obviously, he had to run as mayor and experienced all the high costs, and that's what he ran on. It was pretty simple. He went and talked to people, suffered in a way that a lot of other people suffered, and so the voters picked him over Cuomo, which Cuomo, obviously, he's very wealthy, been in many political positions in New York, and people just wanted something new. They wanted something new. They didn't want the same old rich folks, from what I understand from Cuomo, corrupt, got involved in a lot of financial scandals, actually. So people didn't relate, and it's not like he was going out there shaking hands and talking to people and getting to know what people wanted and needed. And so, people are seeing it now. I mean, Kai Trump, I guess, went shopping with Secret Service in L.A., kind of bragged about it. I mean, she'll go on her father's plane and take pictures. Hey, look at me. I'm flying in my father's plane to just go play golf with him or something. So it's just, if you're in that, and I've said it before, if you're in that life and you're sort of given everything generation after generation after generation, you just keep not having to work for anything, that's what you're going to expect. Like, you're going to expect things to continue to be given to you. Give me 10% of Intel. Give me Greenland. Just give it to me. I think after Donald leaves the presidency, perhaps he'll realize, hey, it was like, it's not like given to you. You know, it's a real job, real issues, So I don't know if he knows anything else. That's just what's normal for him. And actually the whole Trump plan, as I mentioned before, but I hope we don't keep rewarding that. I don't think that's good for everyday people who are trying to make it. I don't think it's good for the country. We can't keep rewarding complacency and complacent behavior, complacent candidates who've lived a complacent life and not had to do anything, or just fell into politics on accident, or they're too old to do anything else. It's like, I hope we see through that, and I really hope stronger candidates, I mean, that's the other thing, like, strong candidates have to be attracted to that position as well. I mean, there's a reason why Trump didn't run in his prime. It was probably too politically dangerous. He wanted to, build up his business and all that. I get that. But at the same time, I don't want just anybody or everybody just wait until they have nothing else to do. I mean, I can't hate on it. I mean, it is. I mean, you look at the political damage Donald's taken and in terms of his business and everything like that. And so I get it, but at one point, there were lawsuits that endangered his whole business empire. But he was convicted on them as well. I don't think so. The Trumps are starting to argue that that's the reason why they needed to kind of make their own money, even if it's through the presidency, even if it's, well, that was kind of why, I guess, Truth Social was started. I think that was because his accounts got suspended because of January 6th. And so he went and started his own one. But the point is he monetized it based off his own popularity, of course, and obviously the extra popularity he got through the presidency. So, but then that part, I kind of get. The Bitcoin stuff I don't get. It was reported by the Wall Street Journal. Eric and Don are going to back a company that is looking for Pentagon contracts. The conflicts of interest never end for this family, and they just don't even care. So I hope people see this, and I really hope this voters voice their frustration at the midterms. And James Tallarico said it best. For the Trump voters who want to change now, and he was saying in Texas, that was his movement, and who feel like they need to change. I mean, he was just saying his movement's for them as well. And I would say that for people in general who want to see something different at the midterms. And so, like I said, I mean, this podcast isn't for everybody. It's to share my thoughts, and I know not everybody's a fan, but that's even more of a reason to do it. I think it's a way for me to express myself. It's a way for me to journal my days as well. But yeah, it's just interesting to me how people express how they may not like my views in different ways, but it's keep it respectful. I hope everybody keeps it respectful. And I hear you, but there's a reason why I'm doing it. I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm following my mind and my heart as far as that's concerned. I like to talk about sports too. Alicia Liu, tickets sold out to see her in Oakland. I also wrote down here not Kevin Kiley, but Shohei Ohtani's contract. I've said this before too. It's not a great contract. I don't know if people realize it, but a lot of his contract is deferred well into the future. And I think I was calculating I think if he had not just a manager, like a contract negotiator, but a good financial advisor, I was calculating his contract and I was like, if there's not just time value of money, because there's a time value of money, and then there's how much can you compound this money in this period of years, and how I think it's 10 years he's going to receive a lump sum for the rest of his life, and they're going to spread it over. He's supposed to receive the contract value is $700 million, but then they're going to pay it out at year 10 a certain sum each year. And it's so like convoluted and so far into the future, to me, it's not worth it. I don't know who was negotiating his contract, and then everybody getting those contracts nowadays, y'all need to have a financial advisor in there with you to calculate actual returns that you can get, not just time. That, like, most people, when they're making that much money, end up investing it. So your assumption also has to be in there somewhere. How much can I earn a year if I invest it wisely on a conservative basis? And I think that whole calculation is missing from these really long contracts and really deferred contracts. And I think it's dangerous, or not dangerous, but I think it's dangerous for the player. Yeah, I mean, it's if so many teams sign up, so many players sign up for this, it's like, because he's not getting paid anything in the present moment, or not very much. But why do I even care? But it's just like, it's just something I observe. It's just another thing. I'm just like, I'm shocked that these contracts are so poorly negotiated, I feel like. So more power to you, Otani, but you got to fire your manager, whoever the heck that is who negotiated that contract for you. I feel like a player like him could have got a $700 million contract now and got it paid out now, and then just invested it and got, the same amount that he's getting in that future state. Yeah, and going back to why I'm doing this in the first place, I think people in general, like, there's a lot of people who want to stay small in terms of hidden, anonymous. There's a lot of people who want to enjoy the fruits of freedom. They want to enjoy the fruits of liberty, but don't want to put no work in. They don't want to have their face attached to it, And there's a lot of people like that, and I'm not a big fan of that. And so I'm going back to kind of why I'm doing this in the first place. It's really not about me. I really don't think I'm that important, to be quite honest. I'm managing money and I'm able to speak on some things and here and there, but I don't know how much effect I'm having. It seems like it's getting views and things of that nature, and that's great. But my hope is that obviously if it's a message that resonates, it continues to reverberate. That's the biggest thing. So if I say something real off, the message isn't gonna carry anyway. But for me, I was a private person for a long time because I had to be. You have to be really careful when you're working at a large company, and media it's managed very tightly in terms of your media presence and your social media presence. So I had to be extra careful, but I think I'm seeing things in today's world that's extremely concerning as well. And I did think about, man, like, do I really want to make my life more public? And it's just easier to make it not public and not say anything and just sit around, and maybe things will get better. Maybe it won't. But then I sat and I thought, and it's exactly what I thought. I was just like, I don't know if I just don't feel like I'm all that important. It's not about fully me. And if I can help people, whether it's invest wiser or help weaker people who are in tougher spots, that would be great. Obviously, I can't just do that sitting behind a computer on a podcast. But as a busy professional, and the way things are set up now with social media and how influential it can be, you just never know. So you don't know till you try. And again, it goes back to just me saying, and at first I was like, yeah, I was thinking me, actually. And then at some point I was just like, you know what? I'm not that important. It's not all that serious. I mean, it is here. I'm talking about serious topics here. I think something Obama said kind of motivated me. I didn't agree with everything Obama did in his administration, by the way. But he was like, hey, are you willing to speak up? Business leaders. And maybe it hurts your bottom line a bit, but I was already thinking this anyway. He was like, but maybe speak up a little, And so this is obviously my little. And again, I did hold to myself, but I think I have some decent things to share, and if it resonates, even better. But at some point I had to say, hey, look, I don't think I'm all that important. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at now with this. And if it helps, great. If it doesn't, great. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's not all that serious. And this could be bigger than even me. So I think the problems are bigger than me, certainly. Just to kind of tune folks in into why I'm doing this in the first place. I'm not trying to stay small. I'm not trying to hide. I'm not trying to like be all out there either. I did go to one protest early on, peaceful, at the Capitol. I wasn't standing at a picket line or anything like that. But I understand, like, not everybody may be a fan of my social media presence, things of that nature. But I think it's really important to continue to speak on things that are important to you. and I encourage everybody to do it, even if you don't agree with me. And I hate to say, like Eileen said it, she was like, because she's getting all these criticisms, and she's like, maybe find what drives you in your own way, and stop worrying about other people's lives and how they live their life. So that's what I would encourage folks to do. If they really don't like what I'm saying, you don't obviously have to watch it. People adding me, and they obviously wouldn't agree with anything I say. And so you could follow me. You don't have to be my friend on Facebook, or anywhere else. But I respect folks' opinions, and I hope to keep things civil. I hope to keep the dialogue civil, and I hope everybody continues to thrive investing wise and in their own lives, in their own way. So appreciate it, y'all. Hope you have a great rest of the Tuesday.